promises we make. We make many promises during our spiritual commitments, during the moment of initiation, to the gurus, to the predecessors, to the Vaishnava acharyas, to Vaishnava Sangha. We make many commitments and promises, and we have to work very hard to live by that, or else Krishna will be disappointed. How Gandaki was so strictly, religiously following whatever she promised. Krishna became so happy with Gandaki and allowed Gandaki to become a river, and eternally Krishna is living in Gandaki's waters as Shaligram. They had a beautiful union. So many sadhus, they select the bank of Gandaki for penance because they want Gandaki's blessing so they can continue their commitment at any situation. That is why even today you go to Nepal, you go to that banks of Gandaki, you can see many sadhus, different kinds of sadhus sitting and meditating there. They somehow wanted to go by the principles. They don't want to dilute the principle at any cost. So Maharaja Bharata also took shelter of Gandaki river. He also took the shelter of Gandaki river and he started practicing. And there is one shloka says in Bhagavatam, he started practicing the joy of renouncing. So Bhagavatam says, Prabhupada writes beautifully, the difference between the materialistic man and spiritualist man is, a materialistic man is so happy, joyful when he accumulates things, accumulate possessions. Prabhupada even said that once. You can understand the consciousness of a person by the materials he has possessed. You can understand what kind of a person he is by the things he has got, by things he has collected. Some people collect money, some people collect properties, some people collect, different kinds of material objects, and some are behind name, fame, glory, some are different kinds of, and his consciousness will reflect in his possessions. Definitely his consciousness is going to reflect in his possession. But here, Bharata Maharaja is experiencing the bliss of renouncing. He was renouncing every single minute attachment which he had in his heart. Gave away the wonderful kingdom, golden chariots, horses, 100 sons, and each son is an amazing person. Sorry, not 100 sons, 5 sons he had. Rishabhdeva had 100. Gave away his sons, his wife, his kingdom, everything, and went to jungle on Gandaki river bank. Took the tree sap and matted his hair. And he was living with the very meager, basic requirements. And Bhagavatam says, next few shlokas says, completely he was renounced, detached, and he was meditating on the Supreme Lord Narayana, and he developed, bhakti so much, he was experiencing ecstatical symptoms. There were tears in his eyes all the time meditating on Krishna. The moment he remembers Krishna, his hair stood in end. He was feeling bhavas in his body, crying, weeping and rolling on the ground, meditating Krishna, and sometimes he will forget eating for next so many days. He will forget bodily necessities, experiencing the bliss of Krishna consciousness. So self-satisfied, wonderful personality was enjoying and experiencing. And at that time, this test in the form of a deer appeared. See, in spiritual life, there will be always challenges. And at that challenge, the consciousness which faces the challenge reflects how progressed we are. That one one mistake could change the entire life. In Bhagavatam, Prabhupada writes about Nala Damayanti story, which is just a upa story. It is not a main story in Bhagavatam. Few lines, Vyasadeva mentions about it. Nala Damayanti story. Nala lost everything simply because he did not wash his feet properly. One mistake he did, which is not a very serious mistake. And in Mahabharata it says Draupadi did that one mistake which she was not supposed to do. What she did, they built this wonderful palace in Indraprastha. Amazing mystical palace, Yudhishthira built by the help of Mayadhanava. Amazing palace. Mahabharata says, you don't see walls there. The moment you enter the palace, you will feel like something like, it's like a planet floating. You don't see the walls. Instead of walls, you can see birds flying there. But actually it is a wall. But it will look like birds flying over there. And the floor will look like a pond. The curtains will look like a waterfall. It is just a deceiving palace it is. It is not exactly what you see. That's why he was so expert. Mayadhanava, amazing palace he built. If you enter that palace, you will lose the track of time. You will think something is a curtain, but it will look like a waterfall. Waterfall will look like a curtain. The floor will look like a pond, and the pond will look like a floor. The walls will look like birds, and all kinds of miracles, mystic things in that palace. And Duryodhana was very jealous that Yudhishthira could build that. He was already very jealousy. Somehow he saw that mesmerizing grandeur of the palace, and he was feeling very jealous. Yudhishthira got this and I could not make, very jealous and envious. And when he went inside, he got cheated by certain things in the palace. Certain things, he saw a wall and he found it's not a wall and things like that. So already he got cheated multiple times, and finally when he entered that assembly, beautiful assembly, he saw the floor looking like water. So earlier he got cheated. So he understood this is just a floor but looks like water. And he walked straight, but actually it was a water. And Duryodhana slipped and fell down, and Draupadi started laughing. In front of so many princes, kings, rishis, and so many guests. In front of so many people, Draupadi laughed uncontrollably. Yudhishthira said, Draupadi, don't laugh, this is not good. But somehow Draupadi could not control her laugh, and she was laughing. And Duryodhana got hurt so badly that his ego turned into vengeance. See, when ego hurts, imagine we slip and fall inside bathroom. You slip inside your washroom and you go and hit the wall, and there's a big noise, and people outside your bathroom, washroom is knocking and asking, what happened? Are you okay? Everything's fine? Then even though it is paining, what you will say? You will say, yeah, it's fine. Everything is fine. I'm managing, fine. Still you have pain. Another instance, in a hall, some 30-50 people are sitting and you are walking in the middle of the hall, and suddenly you trip and fall flat in the hall. You are hurt. But which pain will be severe? The pain from the washroom or pain from the floor of the hall? The pain from the floor of the hall will be severe because you are not physically hurt. Your ego got hurt because you fell in front of 50 people. Your ego tells you, now you have become a failure in front of people. You are not able to prove yourself perfect. You are a failure. The pain created by ego is more severe than the pain created by the body. How much ever body creates a pain, we will somehow tolerate it. Some people lose their arms in accident, they lose their legs, they become handicapped, but still they have courage to live an entire life. Whatever pain a body creates, we are ready to go through it. But the pain created by ego, not very easy. So Duryodhana was, so badly hurt. Pain created by ego is so bad. So that one mistake Draupadi did, she should have not reacted so badly. In the same way, Ramayana also says, after Ram Pattabhisheka, everything, Ram was coronated as the king, and so many things, everything was going good at the end. When Janaka Maharaja and many sages glorified Ram, saying that a person who has never done a mistake in entire life, a man, Maryada Purushottam, a perfect human being, who had never committed a small mistake in his life, when people were glorifying Ram, then Ram denied and said, I have done one mistake in my life. Ram said that out of humility. Then the whole assembly was shocked. How can Ram do mistakes? We know Ram by heart, and Ram had never done any mistakes in his life, and people were very surprised, and they asked, what mistakes have you done? Can you explain? Then Ram said, one mistake I have done. When we were in jungle, Shurpanakha came. Shurpanakha got attracted by my beauty, my personality, and she wanted to marry me. She came to marry me. But then, myself and Lakshman, we played a small prank with her. Ram said, I am married, but Lakshmana is still unmarried. This is the only lie which Ram spoke in entire life. Ram did not speak this lie on purpose, just like a plaything, Just when they saw Shurpanakha walking and trying to captivate, mesmerize Ram, impress Ram, and she came with all her decorations and she was walking, stylish, this, that. Somehow Ram felt like joking with her, having a fun with her. That one thing, Ram felt like having a fun, and Ram told Shurpanakha, my dear beautiful lady, see, I am married already. But the man sitting on the roof and repairing that roof, he is still unmarried, and he is also very handsome. Then Shurpanakha very genuinely agreed to Ram. Then she said, okay, what you say is correct, because you are married, I don't want to disturb you. The man who is on the roof is not married, and he is also handsome, like you. So Shurpanakha walked towards Lakshman. When Ram made fun, Lakshmana also followed the same tempo, and Lakshmana said, my dear, wonderful, beautiful lady, see both of us, compare. I am the second best. My brother Ram, he's got uncomparable personality. No one in this world is equal to him. He is the best suitor for you. Why are you settling for the second best? Lakshmana also followed the same prank what Ram did. Then Shurpanakha genuinely agreed to Lakshmana and said, Lakshmana, what you say is right. Yeah, he is the perfect man. I will go to him. And again, in this way, Ram and Lakshman made Shurpanakha walk up and down a few times, and they were having fun.